Hi everybody, Jim Cowan here again from your UArts Libraries. And today we're going to discuss keywords, arguably one of the more important aspects of searching a database. So much so that the Oxford English Dictionary Online, which your University of the Arts Library subscribes to, goes so far as to link the second definition of the word keyword to things such as indexes, catalogs, databases, and search engines. Hopefully that helps highlight how important using the right keywords are when doing a search. To give you an example, I was once helping a student in a first year writing class who was going to write a paper on how online video games affect community. And as we started looking at the results after doing a search of something along the lines of online games and community, we realized we weren't finding what we were looking for. But as we looked at the results, we started realizing he wasn't really talking about community, it was socialization that he was looking for. So once we dropped the word community and switched it up with socialization, we started finding more results that were on par for what he was looking for. Again, hopefully demonstrates the importance of keywords, but also demonstrates the importance of looking at the results you're getting and see if there are other words in the records you're seeing that might help improve your search strategy. We're going to play around with that more in our activity, and then we're going to try to combine some of these search terms. And we do that using these things called Boolean operators. Worry not, George Boole will not be on the test. And the three main Boolean operators we use are three common words we all probably use every day: and, or not. We know what these mean in general language. Let's see what they mean in the context of searching. And means both things have to be present. So in our silly example, doesn't matter if it talks about cats, it doesn't matter if it talks about dogs, only the things that talk about cats and dogs are going to show up. In most search engines these days, that's assumed. So if you go into OneSearch or if you go into Google and just type in cats space dogs, it's going to assume you want both and only show you things that have both. So why am I telling you this? In our last video, you'll see an example where hopefully it will illustrate this more clearly. On the other hand, if you wanted to use the word or, you would have to tell the search engine that. And or is more. Or is going to give you more results right out of the gate. So in this instance, our silly example, it doesn't matter if it talks about cats or if it talks about dogs or if it talks about both, it's going to show you those results. Or is great for synonyms. So if you were looking for technique, let's say, you might want to do art and technique or skill or craft, and you'll get more results right from the get-go. I prefer that approach. I like to get more results and whittle it down than get few results and think what I'm looking for isn't out there. Don't always have luck with this approach, but it's the approach I generally try to start with. Or is great. Use it as often as you can. On the other hand, I am more careful with the word not. Not can be very useful. An example I like is we subscribe to the JSTOR databases, and they come packaged as arts and sciences. So every once in a while, we'll be looking for an artist who also has, I should say, who a scientist also has the same name. So maybe we're getting all these neuroscience results. At that point, yeah, I would pop in the artist's name, do not neuroscience, cut those right out of the gate, and then we'll get more on par examples. Sillier example is you were doing a paper on, let's say, Marilyn Manson, and you kept getting results on Marilyn Monroe. By all means, you could do Marilyn Manson, not Monroe, cut those out as well. The reason I say to be careful, though, is say you were doing a paper on Andy Warhol, who is arguably more well-known for being a screen artist than he is a filmmaker, although he was indeed a filmmaker. So you say, all right, I'm going to do Andy Warhol film, not screen printing. But there's an article out there that starts Andy Warhol, arguably better known as a screen printer, and then goes on to talk about his films. You cut that out right from the get-go. So I tend to use this very cautiously and only when I'm sure it's going to eliminate things that are way out of the scope of what I'm looking for. Those were our three main Boolean operators. And these are important enough that they're built right into search engines. So as you can see here, if you were to do an advanced OneSearch search, it gives you these three search bars, which is great because you can kind of build out each thought on different lines. So maybe your first line is Andy Warhol, your second line is film, and it shows you how you can put these things together using your Boolean operators on the left-hand side. And I hate that the fact that they call it advanced search. I would call it something more like guided search, because it's really there to help you. You don't have to be quote unquote advanced to use it, even though we all probably are advanced in our own ways. You don't have to be quote unquote advanced. It's really there to help you. So when you see advanced search, don't hesitate to use it. It's a handy feature. Two more quick little additional Boolean features I'll mention. And I'll confess, the first one, truncation, is not one I use all that often. In the right situation, it can be handy, and a former colleague used to use it all the time, and I always was impressed. In our silly example, library, basically it searches the base root of a word, and anything that comes after it. So yes, we have our silly example of library, but you could do psych, and you would get psychology, psychoanalytics, psychopath, all would come up from one search. Again, it's a great way to get more results in one search and save yourself some time. On the flip side, the second one I use all the time. Every day I use it in searches within the library resources. I use it in searches within Google. And I think the example of the University of the Arts is actually a great example, because if you were going to go into Google and just do University of the Arts without quotation marks, Google is essentially going to look for University and Arts. Now, Google is smart, probably knows you're studying at the University of the Arts, so the first result is likely to be the school you are attending. But down the middle of the page, the search results might say Alabama University Arts Department, because it's only really looking for those two words, and it's going to go away from us pretty quick. Whereas if you use these quotes, it's going to force it to search it as a phrase, and almost all the results on the first page of search results will be about the University of the Arts that you are attending. Technically, some University of the Arts London results might make it in there, but let's not split hairs. And just so you know, these things are not limited to library world. They exist out in the real world. Google has an advanced search feature, and these things apply here too. So where it says all these words, that's their way of saying and. Where it says this exact word or phrase, that was the phrase searching I was talking about with quotes. And in this instance, if you were to type University of the Arts in there without quotes, it would literally pop open the standard Google search bar, and it would just have it in quotes. There's no reason you can't do that right from the get-go. Any of these words is or, none of these words is not. So please don't think the things you're learning here are limited to just libraries or just the University of the Arts libraries. They exist everywhere. And that sets us up for activity 3. So this one hopefully will be a fun one for you. And I just want you to go into OneSearch and do some keyword searching. See if you can find some keywords that are tied to a paper you're working on for this class. Again, if you're not at the point yet where you're doing a paper for this class, find something that ties to your artistic creativity. And see if you can find a few keywords that bring up results that you find interesting. And if you want to take it a step further, there's a column in there where you can build a search string, and an example where I show you an example. So give it a try and see what you come up with. And until next time, I wish you good luck.